Hello to all my people, and if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched, and Chair Shots. We still have high hopes of delivering quality wrestling content, but if not, we'll sprinkle in indie stars, so we still get over. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and tonight, my people, joining me tonight is someone who is above the rest. He is a Shaolin Kempo Black belt built off of loyalty. He is the Concrete Dragon, Tristen Thai. Tristen, thanks for coming on to chat about some wrestling, sir. How are you?
What's going on, man? Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm really excited to have you on. I've been looking through some of your film and get going. I want to start at the top. Where do you think the development early on of your striking and strong style really came from?
Just from discipline and martial arts, man. Over 12 years, when I was a kid, I just wanted to be a Power Ranger and a wrestler. That was it. So I figured I had to learn how to fight, you know. And it really, it obviously helped me in ring wise in terms of instincts, in terms of understanding like who I want to be and how I want to be portrayed, understanding and understanding the body too, knowing what's supposed to go where, how arms are supposed to go and not go, and also being able to read your opponent just in training and live in front of people, knowing where he's going, kind of being able to kind of read his body language, and especially the endurance and the muscle memory you need to be successful in that really helps when you are blown up in that ring, when you're 15 20 minutes in and your body's on autopilot. So being able to still maintain your wind and your composure is something that you only learn from discipline in martial arts.
So, given your background in martial arts, do you feel like you had an advantage going into your wrestling training already having an established discipline?
In terms of only, I knew I couldn't be broken. I think because the discipline you learn in martial arts, you take that in throughout life. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean I'm not perfect. I've gotten in trouble and things like that too, and found myself in some predicaments that I wish I wasn't. But being able to understand that you and you alone push your limits, you and you alone can tell yourself I'm done. That is something that always was helpful with me. Now, granted, like my trainer Kono Kapucha, what I'm saying, he never made me feel small. He never made me feel less. He told me the truth. He was honest, sometimes brutal, but that's what I needed to hear. And through that, he was never ever trying to break me. But the intangibles of the wrestling business can break you. The travel, the pay, the misunderstanding of getting over, being hot one day, not being hot the next. Those intangibles with wrestling is what breaks you, not the physicality of it. You walk into that expecting it, you know what I mean? But in terms of being mentally strong enough and equally motivated each day, that's where the martial arts comes into play. That's where having a good trainer comes into play. That's where having good training partners comes into play, and having a solid circle around you. And that comes from the sandbox, surrounding yourself with good people and learning how to read and has your best interest in mind. So all those elements, man.
So, where did your professional wrestling training start? And what particularly made you decide, okay, this is where I want to go now in my career?
So once I got my bachelor's degree, my mom knew that I was gonna go try this thing called wrestling. She was probably hoping I grow out of it, And once I told her, like, I found a school close to home, and I can't not be 80 years old one day and be like, damn, I didn't even try that, because I knew that I could do it. So for the first time, from the first day up until probably about the first month or so, I was the only student, and I was my trainer's first official student. And so I think we both took it very, very seriously, in terms of the fact that no one took us seriously in a weird way. Like, in terms of I was the only student. So in turn, there could be a side where it's saying, oh, well, no one has faith in me as a trainer because I only have one student. And I'm looking at damn, I'm the only student. I better prove myself. You know what I mean? So I think we both had something to prove to ourselves and then to each other, being that we had that one-on-one time. But that those personal training sessions, especially in the beginning, where you could ask anything, you could go over anything you want a million times. You're in a safe space, and plus the trust between me and my trainer also just expedited like crazy, because it's just one-on-one. And with wrestling, you're so vulnerable because it's all the elephants in the room are already addressed. We're all huge fans. We all love it for one reason or another. um and we both, and everyone wants success, but they don't always know how to get it. So like being able to learn how to not go right to the top and understand what that ladder feels like, and the ladders within the ladders too that go on. People think it's just rung by rung. In between those rungs are the ladders. So um, learning that, especially on a one-on-one session, for him to take the time that he did, staying later than he needed to, open up early when he needed to, driving me to get my first gear, having my first match with him, talking me through every single match that I've been in since, putting his faith in me, making, separating the relationship between, I have my, when I'm with him training, that's my trainer. When we're on the side and we're hanging out, that's my friend. When I'm asking a bit of advice, that's my big brother. When I'm frustrated, he's my consciousness. He's my own. Like he wears a lot of hats in my life, and I don't always tell him all of it, but he always knows how appreciative I am of him, because without him, there is no me, there is no anything that I've been able to put my hands on. That doesn't exist without him.
So the relationship you had with your trainer is also one that you could attest to maybe having one with your tag team partner, Gabriel Sky. Can you speak on what it's like building a relationship with another worker in the ring and learning to work with another guy and build stories with another guy, and kind of in a broad stroke look at it, kind of discuss how you approach tag team wrestling?
It was one of those things where we were just thrown together in a tag team because we showed up, and they needed two guys. We both had long hair, you know what I mean? Or both, we both had like, baby faces at the time. And it was just like, all right, boom, you guys go ahead and tag. You guys ever tagged before? No. Uh, and we were close too, but we weren't like as close as we are now. We were very like, oh yeah, we traded in the same spot. Hey, what's up, bro? You know what I mean? Like, have each other's numbers. If that, I don't even know if we had each other's numbers yet. Um, they had this idea to let's go to CZW Dojo Wars in Voorhees, New Jersey, and go test our stuff over there with some new guys, new talent, take the drive, meet some people. They threw us together in the tag team. We had ridiculous chemistry for some reason. We just understood each other. I knew where he was going to be. He knew where I was going to be. And then they decided to make us a tag team on CZW. From there, um, you know, but it's again the intangibles in wrestling. That's the main thing. It's not the matches. It's not the moves. It's not the um, it's the travel, it's the talks, it's the patting on the back, but it's also the sitting in the corner frustrated as hell, holding your wrist tape like you're gonna pop it, because you just are so upset with yourself because of how much you love this. And having someone there who completely understands where you're coming from, someone who grinds with you, someone who pushes you, what I mean? Like Gabe has driven me to every show that we've been on together. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get his car tattooed. That car, that's the third tag team. You know what I'm saying? Um, uh, you know, having those long talks, uh, being able to work on learning how to like bookings together, learning how to pack a bag together, learning how to manage, when girlfriends don't fully understand, when friends don't understand, when family doesn't understand, when you do got to miss a birthday here and there, when you do got to miss a party here and there, when you do have to try to decipher how you're going to juggle work, how you're going to juggle school, how you're going to juggle family, and how you're going to juggle just learning how to be a man. Forget try to be a whole new character and try to figure out that world. Try to figure out who you are as an individual, and that's where again, going off in a little bit of a small little tangent. That's why a lot of this culture is so effed up. You got a lot of people trying to put 10% into everything. You got to put 100% into everything. You can't try to learn how to be a good husband, be a good fiance, be a good boyfriend, partner, spouse, whatever. And at the same time, you're trying to just get by with school. You're saying hi to a couple friends here and there. You're not going to the gym because you're trying to cover up from here. I mean, like having someone there on speed dial, knowing no matter what, they know exactly what you're going through. You can start in the middle of it, and they're gonna talk you down or they're gonna talk you up. Um, that's me engaged relationship in a nutshell. When I win, he wins. When he wins, I win, and everything in between. So we lose together, we win together. Um, we've done everything together, everything. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. It's just a fact. He told us that we're good enough to go to a Beyond Wrestling tryout. Went to a Beyond Wrestling tryout. He won the whole thing, but it was the performances that we had together in that tryout that allowed Drew Cordero and the people at Beyond to give me a chance as well. And from there, they gave us another chance, and then they gave us another chance, and then MLW watched my match. They just happened to turn it on. That's how they picked me up. It makes me mad as hell they didn't pick him up. But again, everything happens for a reason. So now anything that I learned in MLW, the day of, during, after, before, I'm calling him. I'm letting him know, hey, yo, like, at the airport, sometimes they make you do this. Like I just noticed, small stuff, like, how to get through TSA a little quicker, how to maximize your sleep before you get to the airport. Making, what I'm saying? Like how to pack your pack your toiletries, how to make sure, how to double check, how to make a list for your packing. You know what I mean? Then I show them what an itinerary looks like at a major promotion on how they carry business. With the locker room talking there, they're not only talking about wrestling, they're talking about families, they're talking about investments, they're talking about other business ventures. Like they're talking real stuff. So now that I know what I'm supposed to be hearing, if I don't hear that in another locker room, I know I'm in the wrong locker room. But on the other side, he could be on the other side of the country. He might be in the locker room right then and there. And if his texture doesn't feel the way that I'm explaining to him, he knows he's got to get out of there. It's not worth it. There's no clout in there. There's no, what I'm saying? Like, so he learns how to save his body. I learned how to delegate in terms of learning the right way to do things. And so I pass that knowledge on to him. He tells me how his experiences are because he's doing a whole different journey for himself. So like he just wrestled in Canada. You know what I'm saying? Like we joke, there's no Janetti and above the rest in that sense. You know what I mean? We both bring we both bring each other up. We both bring everything we got to the table. And for the rest of the guys that we've trained with, the Dom Pinero, Chris Barton, Desmond Cole, Percy Ryan, Sam Hain, like everybody that we have in our little crew, like that we talk and text, like we protect each other. And you need that. You need to have people that you're okay with bouncing off these emotions before you try to just jump the gun. You jump to Twitter, you jump to talking to your ex, you jump to mouthing off at the wrong person. Like talk to your brothers. Let it out here. Talk here. There's no, there's no judgments here. We know the culture's all messed up. We know they can give you flowers and then burn your house down the next day. The next hour they'll do it and act like it's not weird. You know what I mean? Like that's another story. But that's how you keep yourself in check, where you can still love this and not get so upset and not confuse bitterness with frustrations of stuff that we need to work on. Don't be mad that, we're not on this show. Don't be mad, I don't think we're over as much as we think. No, don't be mad at them. Be focused on ourselves as to how we can elevate that, because we're all learning. And if we're not sharing, if not exchanging knowledge, if we're not using knowledge as currency, then it's just wasted.
So during your time with MLW, how did you go about preparing for your TV matches versus an indie match? You see what I'm saying? A TV match where you're going to have a very particular amount of time to tell your story versus an indie match where you have a little bit more freedom to speak as you go.
I preferred the TV style because it was so much easier to wrap your head around. It was like controlled creative freedom. So yes, you can do what you want, but these are your lanes right here. You can't go outside these lanes. Now, granted, you can expand those lanes and you can kind of test, you can test the boundaries, but especially starting off where you feel like you're walking on eggshells at first. You don't know who's your friend, who's not. You don't know, you don't know who, when you're shaking hands, you don't know who he is. You don't know if it's a legendary luchador that just has his mask off. You don't know, or if he's a janitor. You're just shaking hands. You don't know what's good sometimes, especially for me, from a standpoint where I only knew WWE. So there's a lot of guys that I was rubbing shoulders with, having matches with, that people would be up for weeks thinking about nervousness about letting them down and things like that. I luckily met them as peers. I didn't meet them as, oh, I had your poster, I had this. So obviously the respect is there, because if you're in that locker room in this stage with this type of presence and I see how people are around you, obviously I know you're somebody. But I think that mutual understanding where I don't put people on a pedestal ever in life wrestling. I obviously have respect for certain people as a fan, as a peer, but as far as like kissing ass because of what your last name is, like I don't do that. So I think it protects me where I'm more open to learning. I'm more open to standing up for myself as opposed to like sitting in the corner being happy to be here. And that's the biggest lesson I learned in MLW is the conversations are different. It's all about winning. It's all about elevating. It's not about bullshit. It's not about, getting high in the parking lot. It's not about, I saw some girls, saw some chicks in the second row. It's not, like it's about how can we keep the lights on and how can we turn this change into more commas and a blue check and this and that and movie features, commercial deals, endorsements. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much more that can be done. And I love hearing about where people's heads are at, because once you see that, whether they're your heroes, whether they're just on that next level that you want to tap into, whatever they're doing, I'm not saying cookie cutter and copy them, but they are talking the way they're talking for a reason, and they're at the platform they're at for a reason. There are a lot, there are a lot of favors. There are a lot of people who, there is a definitely like an inner circle type environment where, if you're in, you're cool, you're cool. I mean, Twitter loves you, whatever the case is. But on the more important scale, the scale that I pay attention to are when the killers recognize the killers and they kill on not just the ring, but outside of how they carry themselves, what they're into on the outside, their hobbies, how they handle their money, how they handle their health, how they handle their fame. That's something that I pay attention to more so. And then I see how they give back in terms of what advice they give, how they watch matches, why they watch certain matches. And that environment is just infectious, because that you're in the right place. And there's no better feeling than knowing you're in the right place, because then you automatically understand when you're in the wrong one. And that's how you save your career, your body, your legacy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and and again, back to Gabe Sky, that's the biggest lesson that I've given to him, that he's found out on his own in a way. But to hear it from a friend, a brother who is never gonna lie no matter what, it's comforting to know that what he feels is correct. And that's that as a performer, that's awesome, because you never always know. Sometimes you have that lot of self-doubt, a lot of inner voices that say like, nah, maybe you don't know, maybe that's wrong, someone else would do it better. But then you see someone or hear talks where they're similar, it might be a different script, but they're saying the same things, they're thinking the same things, so you're on the right track without checking in with somebody. You just hear the texture of the conversation.
So I recently had somebody on the show say one of their biggest gripes in the business was there weren't enough guys going up to the veterans anymore. Not necessarily blowing smoke like you were saying, but there's not enough guys getting advice from the vets. They're not asking the guys who paid their bills how to do it the right way in pro wrestling. Do you think that you see a lack of this happening in this new generation that are coming up, like the loss of the old ways?
I mean, lost the old ways is, I mean, I think there's a line between evolving and ignoring, So in terms of
For sure, yeah.
like one person specifically, Ricky Morton, right? So he talks about the art of selling and how that's dying, having things register. When I first met him and actually had like a conversation with him, like as like, backstage, so not as a passing through, not as, oh, you're on the car, like as like a peer, because that's it's a different conversation. Besides being super energetic and honest, the one thing he has stressed in person, and I also see on Twitter, is the registering of selling. So I mean, I can't speak for how the pace was before, because I didn't wrestle earlier. I didn't wrestle in that time. So, but I see the differences in it. But I think more so it's everybody's trying to protect their own brand. I think everybody's scared of criticism because everybody's always on camera. So there's a lot of, like I said, like you got to know who you are before you try to be someone else. You know what I mean? Like people, right? It's like that thing, like, the best gimmicks are the ones that are, basically you turned up. But the problem is, if you don't know who you are, how could you turn something up and then it's just force or it's fake? And then sometimes people dive into that and then they become that guy. But they don't even know who that guy is. And then you're weird. Then you talk to girls weird. You tweet weird. You just move weird. You know what I mean? Like it's a certain spiral that people go down. So the biggest thing for me that I see as far as my generation, I see a lot of respect with the seminars. You can see these seminars and they're hungry. Because I remember how it was when I did the Beyond tryout with Gabe, and then I met a lot of new guys there. Like, it was hunger. And there was real competition where the dude next to you was trying to take your spot. So, like, that was a cool feeling to feel that, because unless you've been in that real locker room situation, you played sports, like you did combat, like if you used to grow up fighting, like there's certain politics, there's certain feels, there's certain body language that you got to learn and pick up on. And if you're not from that texture, or you don't pick up on it and you don't learn it through training, you're going to get very much exposed, because it is kill or be killed type of deal. Gabe knows that. I know that. When we're in the ring, it's like, yeah, we're having a match. We're being safe. We're not being idiots, but I'm taking it from you. And he said, Dan, you're not. And that's the texture you want, because right after there's going to be a winner. And once that happens, my hand is right there to pick you up and say, oh, damn, like, what do you think happened? Well, I think this happened. I think that happened. You know what I mean? So being able to pat yourself on the back, but also not be afraid to fail. I think people are afraid to fail because that camera rolls 24/7. I think people are afraid to be a hashtag. People are afraid to be canceled. People are afraid. But the thing is, if you're not doing anything to be canceled, then what are you scared of? You know?
So you use the analogy about turning things up. What about you? Do you turn up to 11 for a match?
Um, so ever since I made my return, because I was injured, I got injured pretty bad, man. Like the day before Thanksgiving, 2019. That happened, and I reevaluated everything. This is a chance for me to re-debut. This was a chance for me to get my head out of my own ass and stop worrying about the little things. Working in MLW showed me how to take direction and add myself into it over time. My first go in MLW, I didn't know who the hell they wanted me to be. I didn't talk. I didn't walk like I did. I didn't say anything in the ring. I was just quiet. I moved cool, but like it was, I didn't recognize myself in a bad way. I know that there is nobody in wrestling that's like me. I know that for a fact. And I think because of that, it's hard to market. It's hard to blueprint because there is none. I got to do it myself. You take someone who looks like me with my type of moveset, at least on paper. Tajiri, oh, this guy, oh, that guy, oh, this guy. It's not. You can't make my moveset in a video game because I made it up. I'm not a mark in the sense of I don't know as much wrestling as my peers. The Japanese wrestling, independent wrestling, my peers put me on while I was training. I didn't know these guys. Not on purpose. I was just I was into other things. I just love wrestling. I love WWE. That's just what it was. I didn't know about the indies like that. I remember I saw one show in a parking lot once. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, I said, oh man, that's terrible. Not realizing that, one day I'd be wrestling outside, you know what I'm saying? Like learning how to, and respecting what that meant. You know what I mean? Like, so overall, like it's balancing out, being, the humbleness of knowing that this is a lifelong journey, and no matter 30 years in, 40 years in, I'm always going to learn something. But also being able to be confident that knowing who I am as a person is not something that needs to be changed. MLW, I was the karate guy, I was the token whatever Asian guy. There are, you talk about Twitter and you talk about the culture and things like that and equality and stuff like that. If I really wanted to open my mouth, there is zero Asian American representation. There's just not. Everybody hops on Japan's jockstrap any chance that they get, whether it's anime, whether it's music, whether it's, video games, whether it's New Japan, things like that, right? Which is obviously they're awesome. But as far as Asian American representation, there is none. There is none. I was the only Asian American on any card. with the exception of guys like Yo-Yo and Kevin Koo and stuff like that. But again, I'm different from them also because I'm adopted. I grew up in New York. You know what I mean? Like there's no one that's why I call myself the Concrete Dragon. I'm very disciplined in martial arts, and I did that to a T to get good at wrestling, not thinking that I could be typecasted because I'm an Asian guy and I do martial arts. I do it very well, so I'm not gonna hide it, but I'm definitely not gonna act like that's what defines me because you can talk to me for 2 seconds, you can look at me for 3 seconds, and I'm me. I don't try to be anything else. I don't know how to be anything else. I don't know how to force the typecast image that people might try to box me into. So with that, obviously, I understand the road's going to be longer, but it's going to be my way regardless. And I think Gabe does that too. Gabe's of Puerto Rican descent. Gabe does not want to be assumed or be perceived as a luchador, high flyer. Can he do all that stuff? Hell yeah, he can do a 450 with his eyes closed. Yeah, he can run outside of the ring if he wanted to, but the way he moves is strategic to where you separate the race from the individual, from the stereotypes from the individual, but you also don't ignore it because it is party. So he owns his heritage, but he makes himself him, and he does, and there's no one like him in the ring. You know what I mean? And that's on purpose. So I think that as far as advice for myself that I try to listen to, advice that I try to give everybody else is you got to just stay being you. And if there's nothing else, if there's no one else like you, there hasn't been a first, well then congratulations, you get to be the first one, and then you get to figure out what to do with it.
So let's talk about preparation for your matches a little bit. You've been in some brutal hardcore matches versus some really technical striking showcases. What's the biggest preparation differences from match type to match type?
It's getting out of your own head, and I was funny. I was talking about that this weekend at my show. Being able to differentiate the difference of differentiate the line of your feelings. Like I say the same thing when I train people when for working out because because I'm a trainer, and the first thing that I always talk about is your heart rate is going to go up. You only associate your heart rate going up when you're panicked, you're nervous, you're scared, you're in trouble, and you don't associate it with fitness. You're doing something good for yourself. So your body is going to send you signals of saying, this is no good, this is bad. You have to, kind of dog walk and train your body and your mind to say, no, there's a separation here. My heart rate is up because of my choice. I tried to make it better. So in terms of with wrestling, that would be nerves and the butterflies and owning that and making sure like, listen, I'm not nervous about making a mistake. I don't botch. But I'm nervous because I love this. I love the outcome. The outcome of how I'm perceived. This is my art form. This is my life. This is my decision of how I want to put food on the table. I damn sure want it to be filet mignon every time because I know what a burnt steak looks like to the people. Because I've been a fan on the other side too. I know what some shit looks like. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I know what that looks like. And I'll be damned if I attach my name to something that doesn't look good or doesn't elevate my brand or my product. So that's the big thing of preparation wise is getting myself in that mode of organizing my thoughts. Are you nervous because of what? Because you're wrestling so-and-so or because, your ankle's been hurting? Are you nervous because you think you're going to mess up because you're just thinking you're going to mess up? Or are you hyped because you hear that crowd right now? Are you nervous because there's 24 cameras as opposed to a hard cam and a handheld? But making sure every single match, everything else is laid out there. Obviously, there's strategy to what you lay out there. But in terms of staying in that moment is something that I'm still working on. I haven't had many matches in my career because I'm very strategic about where I go and what I do. Most people by now, they're about, I'm 4 years in, even with 2 years out with an injury. There's some people who had 500 600 matches. I've had under 70. I've had 64 65 matches. But if you check that resume, those names will include only people that matter on stages that matter, and there's not a lot of people that can say a bad thing other than obviously the trained eye on things I need to work on, things I need to improve on, respectfully, of course, you know what I mean? But I'm very strategic on where I go, who I work, why I work, because my body of work is my body of work. It's going to follow you forever. There's a paper trail. So I'm very into having the resume mean something. And also because of the culture, you're only as good as your last match. You can kill it Friday and Saturday. If you do one thing wrong Sunday, that's what they're going to tag you for. This culture is sick. It's sick. You know what I'm saying? They don't care about those accomplishments like that. You know what I'm saying? Your spine, your neck can only take so much. You know, you know what I mean? Like your wife, your husband, whatever. Like, they can only take you gone so long. They can only take you, oh, I'm in pain today. You know what I mean? Like, there's, so you gotta be strategic about what's going on. And I think having that in mind, preparation, is knowing that if I'm here, if I'm sweating, if my heart's racing, if my gear's on, it's go time, because I'm only putting my gear on when it's go time. So get yourself out of your head. You're here because you're supposed to be. At this level, no one is giving you a handout because you're a cool dude. You're here because you're good, and they got money on the line, and they got money on with your name. So show out, because that's all you can do. And then it's like, oh wow, I can't mess up. Okay, easy. Not easy, but like in the sense of like, if you take like, you're not gonna mess up out of the equation. Now you're just waiting to go out there, and then you be able to control that aggression.
Okay, Tristen, I should close all of my interviews with 5 rapid fire questions, some having to do with wrestling, some not. I've got your 5 queued up. You ready to roll?
I mean, as you can know, there's nothing rapid when it comes to talk with me, bro. I'll talk to you for 10 hours, bro. I apologize.
Dude, I love this. I've already got questions lined up for when we get off the air, because I want you to come back on for a general discussion episode, because I think we could talk for hours just about pro wrestling.
I think so too, bro. Hell yeah.
What's your favorite city, not New York?
My favorite city, not San Diego.
It's a great city, dude. I love the West Coast. California is one of those places for me where I could visit a lot, but I don't think I ever want to live. So that's the way San Diego, LA, like Sacramento, some of those cities, like I love visiting, but I don't think I ever want to live in California.
No, I just want to keep having that visiting experience. Like I get to go over there. Yeah.
For sure. What's your favorite food?
Damn, my favorite food. I mean, like desert island food?
Yeah.
And we're taking health out of it?
Mm-hmm.
No, pizza. I love pizza.
Absolutely, pepperoni pizza. I have a slice of pizza tattooed on my wrist, bro.
I love
that's
that.
my favorite food.
Hell yeah.
Who was your favorite superstar growing up?
Eddie Guerrero.
That's always top 5 for me for sure. My favorite all-time, Shawn Michaels. Who is your favorite musical artist or performing group?
My favorite rapper, his name is Sue Surf. He's out of Jersey.
I'm writing it down.
I love battle rap. That's where I discovered it. But his music is just out of control. So
I'm a big East Coast hip hop guy. So Wu-Tang.
Yeah, so I love
Biggie,
the Lops. I love the
stuff
Lops.
like that.
Jadakiss, my favorite. Jadakiss is my ringtone. So.
Yeah, Nas, a lot of those guys, Beastie Boys, stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I grew up on the early '90s hip hop. That was always my thing. And final question: what's your favorite venue you've ever wrestled in?
ECW Arena.
That's a great one. Philadelphia is a great city. It's huge, rich wrestling history. Just off the wall question: when you wrestled in Philadelphia, did you feel like that crowd had a different expectation or vibe when you were wrestling in front of them?
Yeah, like they'll check you, especially if you come out tough. Especially when I'm coming out, 5'8", and I only fought giants. I was technically in the roster. I'm a middleweight, but I've only wrestled super heavyweights. That's it. 6'9", 8 foot. You know what I'm saying? Like 12 feet tall. Like that's all who I wrestled. So they check you pretty hard, and like when you don't break, they're like, okay. Especially Philly. You know what I'm saying? Like Philly, like people talk about New York all the time, but Philly, they'll eat you alive. They'll eat you alive. Especially when you step foot in that building. Granted, it's a different building now, but like the aura of that building is still there. So you come in and you don't come correct in terms of your posture, your swagger. Like they're gonna check you. So being on edge in that sense, where it's like you don't gotta prove anything, but you gotta be extra on on your game with them.
All right, Tristan, this is your opportunity to tell everybody where to find you, plug all your socials and what you've got coming up in the near future.
Oh, dope. So you can follow me on Twitter at Tristen_Thai. Instagram, same thing, Tristen_Thai. Next big show coming up, Remarkable Wrestling in Deer Park, Long Island, New York. My match hasn't been announced yet, so I'm not going to say anything. But my boy Gabe Sky, who's the Remarkable World Champion, is going to fight Akira. It's going to be crazy. He had a battle with Davey Richards last show. Before that, he wrestled me. Before that, he wrestled ACH. he's on the way up. I'm definitely going to go for that title soon. It's going to be brother versus brother again. But until then, I'm looking forward to his match. I can't wait for mine. Hopefully that brings me one step closer to another title shot. And other than that, man, I'm open for bookings. I'm trying to go all over. I'm trying to fight the best. I mean, there's so many people I haven't worked yet. A lot of these cards keep looking like rinse and repeat cards. Time to add some new faces in there. Let me kill. I want to, and Josh Barnett, I want to do Bloodsport this year. So we were talking a little bit, but I'm putting it out there again.
Heard that, Tristen. I appreciate you coming on and chatting about some wrestling with me, brother.
Thank you, bro.
And now as we close another episode of Botched Spots and Chair Shots, I want to take a minute and thank you for listening. Remind you to go anywhere you do anything on the internet, Twitter, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Instagram. You literally have all the options: like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment telling me how great I am or how terrible I sound. Either way, it helps my algorithm. It helps find new listeners. I am your host, The Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.